All right, so now that we laid the principles for hearing God together, we're going to talk about how do we do this practically in groups. Everything from prepping to gathering the right group to some helpful tips on how to watch out for just some stumbling blocks and things that can kind of take the thing south. So once we do this, once we kind of get into this place of hearing God together, we want to not just hear what he's saying, but we want to obey what he said. So we're going to talk about what do you do after in this group context, you've heard from God. There's an accountability that we make sure we obey and respond to whatever he asks us to do. So as you think about gathering a group of people to listen together, you want to think about what's the purpose of this group? What type of group are you gathering? What are the expectations and the topics and the outcomes? This can help you kind of guide the time and make sure you're asking the right questions and also better prepare people for what they're coming into so that they understand that when they come into it, they're going to be expected to engage with God. It's not just a prayer meeting where they're just going to be sitting there and playing on their phone or just thinking about other stuff, but this is something that they can all participate in and get engaged in, which is going to be for many people maybe the first time they've done something like this. So as you form this group, you gather this group, you need to know that there's a variety of types of things to pray about. So you could gather to make decisions, to get clarity on how to move forward together. You could spend time just ministering to one another, asking God, what is he saying about each one of us and praying for one another. You can intercede for different situations, people, nations. You can be asking God. We just had a prayer time the other day and we were praying and the Lord put a nation on our heart and we prayed for that nation and we came out of that time burdened for what God wanted to do in that place. And so this is a dynamic time where we get to hear from heaven and get God's heart for people, situations, nations, and for the things that he has in his heart that he wants us to do. So as you're forming the right group, you want to think about people that are already interested in or open to the idea of hearing God. Maybe not start with the people who are adamantly opposed to this idea, and it may not set them up or the group up for a win if you have people who are antagonistic to the idea that God still speaks today, just like he did in the Bible. And so it may be a group that, again, they may not be ready for maybe more like, kind of complex theological stuff or like complex situations. But I think when you're thinking about the group and their maturity and their familiarity with this, thinking about the right topics that are going to engage them and give them kind of an easy win related to what are we praying about and are maybe things they have a passion for or they're burdened for. And these are just things that, again, can really help people that are new feel like this is a safe place for them to just hear from heaven and share, knowing that we all see in part and we all are going to get a piece, and that it's okay that for them to share and maybe they didn't get anything. And so we're going to go into how to handle that as well a little bit later. When you find someone who's uncomfortable in the group, offer for them to just watch and maybe not participate if they don't want to. You never want to make people feel like they're heavy-handed, where you're being heavy-handed and you're trying to like force them to do this, or that if they're praying and they're not hearing anything, that they're somehow like evil or a bad person. Like, please don't do that. This is an opportunity for people to participate in something that, again, may be very different to what they're used to, and it's okay. They can come, and maybe as they watch and they observe and they listen, I often find that people like that, they will suddenly say, well, actually, I did get something, and here's what I felt the Lord say, and we'll find that people will hear God for the first time in their life. And so there was a situation where we had a pastor who was in a group with us, and we were praying and waiting on the Lord, and he said, in all my years of ministry, I've never done this, but actually this is what I felt the Lord just say to me. And it was amazing. And he was so encouraged, and he left open to this idea that, man, God can still speak to each one of us today. And so if you are in a situation where people are nervous or they're uncertain, you can share my other resources on hearing God's voice as an individual and give them an opportunity to kind of grow in that individually, praying about different things the Lord might have in their heart for them. And then those resources can help them as they come into the group have a confidence to engage and have faith that God is going to speak to them because he loves them. And I think just like that pastor, you may find that people maybe in the past have not been open to this or not experienced it. Please don't presume that that doesn't mean they're unwilling. And I've seen many, many people, hundreds and hundreds of people that have never experienced hearing God, hear God and believe it's Him and actually continue to do this and live a life that's following the Holy Spirit that have never even thought that this was a thing. And so just so you know, as you facilitate and give people space to experience this, this can start a lifelong journey of listening and obeying the Holy Spirit.